Welcome to the eCommerce podcast with Matt Edmundson, a show that brings you regular interviews, tips, and tools for building your business online.
Hi, and welcome to the e-commerce podcast with me, your host, Matt Edmundson. All of this week's notes and links can be found at ecommercepodcast.net/86. And you really are going to want them this week, as in today's show, you are going to learn how to increase the lifetime value of your customers. Most people focus on getting new customers, but if you can maximize the value of each customer, you'll be able to grow your business a heck of a lot faster. So stay tuned and we'll show you how it's done.
Hey there, are you a business owner? Here at Aurion Digital, we know firsthand that running an e-commerce business can be really hard work. As the online space gets more competitive, it is becoming even more challenging to stay ahead of the curve. We totally get it. So we want to help you succeed by offering a wide range of services, from fulfillment, marketing, customer service, and even coaching and consulting, just so that you can do what matters most. Save yourself the time and the money and let us handle the day-to-day tasks. This way, you can run your business without having to worry about the boring stuff. So what do you say? Are we a good fit for each other? Come check us out at auriondigital.com and let us know what you think.
Thanks for joining us on the e-commerce podcast. It's great that you're here. Now, whether you are just starting out or if, like me, you've been around for a while, our goal on this show is simple. It's to help you grow your e-commerce and digital business. And to do that, every week, we bring you great show sponsors who are going to help you, but we also bring you amazing guests, experts in their own field, with stories, with insights, with principles that we can use to help us grow and adapt and learn online. It's kind of like the coffee table conversations. And so now, if you listened to last week's show, you may remember that I said we would have John Horn talking to us this week about Facebook ads versus Google ads. And we are still going to do that interview, but my interview with John, we've decided to move back until next week. And the reason we've done that is because recently I recorded today's interview with Valentin, who happens to live in Romania near the Ukrainian border. And so it made sense to play this interview sooner rather than later, given the atrocities that are happening currently in the Ukraine. And Valentin gives us some real and practical insight into how we can help and how, you know, maybe some of the things that we can do. And we talk about that before we then jump into this whole conversation about customer lifetime value. So real helpful stuff, hence the reason we wanted to play it sooner rather than later. So let me tell you about this week's guest. He is such a great guy, such a nice guy, top bloke, as we would say in the UK. I really enjoyed actually this interview with Valentin. Valentin Radu is the founder and CEO of Omniconvert, a growth enabler, should I say, for mid-size D2C e-commerce and retail companies that are looking to increase customer lifetime value and decrease customer acquisition costs. Interestingly enough, we will be talking about all the insights he has on customer lifetime value. And let me tell you, they're really great. Valentin is also the founder and instructor of the CVO Academy, where he coaches and teaches e-commerce businesses just like you, just like me, how to scale our brands profitably and sustainably. And when he's not busy scaling businesses and shaking up the e-commerce world, Valentin can be found spending time with his wife, his kids, and baby. Oh yeah, fur baby, it says here. So anyway, you're going to love it. You're going to love this interview. I hope you'll love it anyway. I certainly enjoyed it, and it's such a timely conversation. He's a top bloke. So without further ado, here's my conversation with Valentin. Whereabouts in the world are you based?
In Bucharest, in Romania, right near the border with Ukraine.
Oh, mate.
Yeah.
How's it going over there?
It's
Is everyone very nervous?
Yeah, it's at the beginning they were frightened. We were frightened. I mean, everyone. The news were not helping at all. They were using all sorts of imagery from, I don't know, the Syrian crisis or whatever.
Yeah.
Then we thought that this is a scam made by the televisions. There were all sorts of voices around here that this is not for real. Then they realized that it's for real, and the TV stations were not fast enough to send people over there so that they can broadcast. And now we are helping. Mainly we have around more than 100,000 people that we managed to accommodate in the last 5 to 6 days. I also helped a family to get here in Bucharest from through Moldova. And we're doing everything we can. I have a few friends of mine that are running businesses, and they've changed completely their businesses. Now they are doing raising funds for the refugees. That's all they do. 60 people
Wow.
calling other Romanian companies to help with them, because there are a lot of people. You can imagine. I mean, 100,000 people. Anyways, there is this is serious, but the silver lining is that I'm pretty excited to be able to help people. There are almost all of them are women with little kids. I mean, we have to do something for them. It's really
well
cold.
done. Yeah, no, thank you for doing that. I mean, it's I'm obviously watching it through the lens of the television and the news. England, whilst we have very strong opinions about what is going on, we are not neighbouring with the country, and so it's great, that people like you are doing things. So good on you. I think it needs to happen.
Of course. Anyways, despite all the political whatever chess that they are playing, there are people out there which are suffering, and you can't say that they don't exist. It's like, no matter what caused this conflict to occur, no matter what NATO, Russia, Ukraine, Zelensky, anything, what happened through them, fact is that people are suffering, and we have to help them.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree. How could people from the West help? I mean, that's one of the big questions I think everybody has. What is the best way for us to sort of actually help? We watch the news, we can go to protests and all that sort of thing, but I mean, there are a lot of charities doing good stuff, but from your point of view, what do you think?
I think one thing that we can do is to raise the level of awareness for the Russian people to understand what's going on in their country. Mm-hmm. From what I know from people which are actually living there is that they are all frightened. There are thousands of people which have been arrested, and the civic society is not is very weak out there. However, they need to raise up, because it's their message, their leaders. So at the end of the day, they should be fixing that. Another way to help is to simply support the Ukrainian charities, the Polish ones, the Hungarian ones, the Romanian ones, which are helping with the refugees. The Red Cross is doing a very good job. They've been there from the very beginning at the border. And so financial help. Another way to help, I think, is to do something about the companies which are in Ukraine. We have to provide two vendors from Ukraine, and we keep our contracts with them, even though they are affected. We got some services which weren't as good as they were, but it's all, at least that's what we can do to sustain them, or to contract them, because you can imagine over there, there are a lot of individuals that simply can't continue working for Ukrainian companies because everything is shut down. So if we can hire someone from there, if we can contract, if we can work with a freelancer from the Ukraine, that means more money in the country for them, and they can sustain their family members. One of them, for instance, I had a chat with them. There's a guy which is doing SEO, and he needs to support right now 5 other members of his family, including 2 kids and his parents, and he's the only one that can bring one more penny in the family, as everything has stopped over there.
Wow, well, you should definitely give us their details, because we could tell people to contact them that are used. If people listening to the show want help with SEO, I like that. One of the things you can do is reach out to Ukrainian companies that are would ordinarily do a good job that actually could do with all the help.
Yeah.
And this is one way that we could help them, just be prepared for a little bit of disruption. So
there's a list which is being a pretty comprehensive list with a few hundreds of freelancers or companies which are looking to get hired. And I can provide that list. It's a work in progress. It's like a Google sheet, which is getting bigger and bigger as people hear about it.
Oh no, that's fantastic. Let's do that, and we'll let's get the word out, because I think that's going to be really important. Well, thank you for that, and like I say, thank you again for taking some action. It's just remarkable times, isn't it, that we're living in? And
it looks like every March, March every 2 years, it's happening something. There's
a lot of memes going around the internet where I saw one, I think a Simpsons one, where I think Homer was in the bath, and it said first normal summer since 2019, referring to the pandemic, and there was Bart behind him ready to smack him in the head with a tray, and underneath that it said Vladimir Putin, which I thought was quite fascinating. So every March something happens, and let's hope this one resolves quicker than the pandemic. Although it's looking unlikely, but let's hope so. Pray for peace and all that sort of.
Yeah, it's quite grim, but what I think, if we look at what can we get out of this crisis, maybe not us, but the future generations, is if they would be around. If not, if this crazy Putin is not going to hit the red button, what we can learn is that so much power in the hands of a single person, is not okay. And no matter what kind of political systems we have, we need to have, a council which is actually working like a council, because the matters of our planet are too sophisticated, and so much power in the hands of a single person is not okay to happen. And another thing is that we should be, working on what kind of models we are using to interpret reality, because we've been so stubborn for economic growth, and we've been looking at as nations. We are guiding ourselves by the GDP growth and shit like that. But then this happens, and we ask ourselves where was that coming from? But it's coming from, I don't know, for 20, 50 years. We know that we don't have to be dependent on the energy from other countries, especially if they have these autocratic systems, but still we have these dependencies from to countries like that. And I guess this crisis is just the tip of the iceberg. We could have seen this, and our authorities, our politicians, and I bet that is the same everywhere. They are posing to the TV stations as the rulers and as the leaders. They fight between themselves, to earn a few percentage in the elections. But at the end of the day, they are not foreseeing what should happen. And countries should work more united. And that's another silver lining, that we've seen that Europe is really united. And
it's sort of awakened it, hasn't it? The whole Europe seems to have come out of its slumber a little bit, actually, more so than with the pandemic. So I think you're right. I think too much power in the hands of one person. Just we should have learned this. Do you know what I mean? We should have learned this from 100 years ago. This is not rocket science. And I can't disagree. Too reliant on different people for different energy resources, and actually those energy resources are depletion. They're depleting. They're not renewable energy sources, and so we have to, maybe accelerate certain programs. And
green energy, stuff like that, and also nuclear power. What happens with these nuclear weapons, man? Why those are existing if we do know for a fact that they could kill us, the human species, and whatever is alive on this planet? Why do we accept those to exist? It's like if we're a family, if this species is a single family, and we do know for a fact that we have something that can kill everything, how do we accept that? How is this acceptable in 2022?
Yeah, I'm with you. It doesn't make any kind of sense. But like you say, one of the things that I am greatly encouraged by is the spirit of humanity. I think people who have definitely sort of risen up and said, this is not right, this is not fair, this is not just, and we're going to, and everyone's doing what they can to help somebody else out. And I love to see that spirit, because I think for a while now we've had a spirit of, this is not a political show, by the way, but it's an interesting conversation. We've had this sort of spirit of division, for a polarization, the cancel culture. And it's like, actually, no, all that has been, it seems to be being put aside, which is good. And everyone is uniting, in solidarity here, which is actually very good to see. So, tough one though, tough one. Yeah. And so, well, thank you for your thoughts, Valentin, on that. Thank you for your insight. And we will definitely share out, like I say, that list. And we'll get into that. And we will continue to pray for peace in Ukraine, and continue to hope for that, and continue to support all the different works that are getting done, which is great. But shall we get into e-commerce a little bit? It might seem a little bit tried, actually, but I think, it's good in the face of danger to it's a very British thing to carry on as normal. Have a cup of tea and carry on as normal. That's what we like to do. And so, let's help businesses make lots of money, and maybe they could donate some of those profits to the cause. So let's do our little bit. So the title of today's podcast is Maximising the Lifetime Value of a Customer. Now, this is one of those things, Valentin, where I cannot begin to understand why it's such a difficult concept for people to grasp. But the lifetime value of a customer, for me, is one of the most essential things for an e-commerce business. So what do you mean when we talk about lifetime value of a customer? Let's first start there and define that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the customer lifetime value of a customer is it's what the business will keep in terms of margin. Usually it's gross margin throughout the entire lifespan of that customer. It's there are all sorts of formulas to define it, but in a nutshell, from a bird view, it's just that how much margin can you expect to get from a customer looking at the past data. And usually the formula takes into account a few things. I'll try not to get too deep into that, but it's the first thing is how many orders are placing the customers on average, which is the purchase frequency or orders per customer. Let's say a customer is placing 1.8 orders, right? We have 180 orders made by 100 customers per the analyzed period. Another term which is important is the customer retention. So how many of the customers are placing their second order, which is giving us the lifespan. Because based on the customer retention, if you expect that 20% of the customers to place the second order, that means we have 1 out of 5 customers placing an order. And then we have the AOV, how much they are spending, the average order value, and we have the gross margin. So basically these are the terms that should be taken into account to calculate the customer lifetime value. Basically, we do have all sorts of interpretations of the customer lifetime value, which takes into account only the revenue, which I don't think it's okay, because you can have different type of costs of goods sold, COGS, and that means you should ponder in at least the gross margin. If you want to be very, very specific, you could rely on the net margin, but that's very complicated because
a lot more complicated to calculate.
Last month maybe you invested a lot into stock or whatever, and that means your CFO should be a really valid CFO to help you with that. So mainly I suggest to use the calculation which takes into account the gross margin with those terms. Mainly there are ways to calculate it like a one time, to do it just to see how was your e-commerce in the last 3 years or 3 months. Or you can use technologies to calculate this for you. And I think this is one of the reasons why customer lifetime value is not as popular as should be, because this is essential in any e-commerce company. More important, of course, for companies which are relying on a better customer lifetime value and a higher purchase frequency. Let's say if you sell mattresses, it's not that impactful as it is if you sell coffee or tea or groceries.
Yeah, no, totally get that. And it's interesting, you talk about maybe people don't use the customer lifetime value because it's not actually straightforward to sort of think about or define. And there are a lot of moving parts. But in a lot of respects, it's better to do something than do nothing. And even being slightly wrong on customer lifetime value is better than not actually understanding any figure of customer lifetime value. And so, just these things evolve and work as you go through. But I think for us, we have an e-commerce business that sells health supplements, vitamins.
Yeah.
And so customer lifetime value is essential because there's a lot of repeat purchase. And so it's essential because it helps me understand that if I'm using, say, paid media to bring a customer into the business, and on that first order, I break even or I make a slight loss, it's not too much of a problem if that customer that I'm bringing in has a higher customer lifetime value than just that single order, right?
That's right.
And so this is why it's good to understand it beyond the first purchase. It's like I can now make better planning and provision in my ads.
Mm-hmm. One thing, sorry, Matt, to interrupt you. One thing that it's not acknowledged enough is that I'm a former e-commerce entrepreneur, and I've been looking to break even from the first order as well. That was my mantra, why lose money from the first purchase? But then competition occurred, and they raised the customer acquisition cost, and they've been playing a different game than I was acquainted with. And that's why you need to look into the customer lifetime value so that you can calibrate your acquisition efforts with how much you are getting from that customer. Otherwise, you're shooting in the dark. And at this moment, the competition is so fierce that there are, for sure, there are teams over there from your competitors which are modeling their businesses based on how much they can afford. And that's why they are bidding higher and higher. And at some point, you stop and they acquire market share. They raise money, they acquire talented people, and then there you go. You have a company which used to be the market leader or very well established, and they are wiping you off. Jeff Bezos said this fantastically, is that whoever can spend more to acquire a customer is going to win that market. So it's not a matter of only becoming profitable, but also to thriving in the future. Because it's CLV versus CAC, it's customer acquisition versus customer lifetime value. This is the ratio that you should be monitoring. However, few CEOs, few e-commerce managers are actually aware about this ratio, and they simply don't know it, and they solely rely on things like ROAS, which is a skewed metric because if it's reported by the Facebook business manager or whatever, it's
almost like a waste of time now, isn't it? That number.
Yeah,
it's definitely a waste of time. And in fact, we don't just have one ROAS actually on our advertising. We have different pillars. And we understand the cost of acquisitions for new customers is very different, say, the cost of acquisition for a returning customer. No, that's really fascinating. In the old days, Valentin, you may not remember these, but I certainly do remember the old days when pre-internet, as they say. Supermarkets used to have what they called loss leaders. And so they would have products which they would deliberately sell at a loss. They would lose money every time they sold it, but they knew that would draw you into the store, and then that would cause you to buy, while you're there, you're going to pick up half a dozen to a dozen, other groceries while you're there, which they are making profits on. And so this whole idea of the loss leader was born. I was very good friends with a guy who owned a chain of supermarkets. And for him, this was sort of how it worked. You had to choose a good product, have it as a loss leader, and it drew people in. But again, he understood the customer lifetime value. And although he didn't phrase it like that back then, but it's the same principle, and this is sort of carried on with time. Okay, so we have understood why customer lifetime value is important. Don't go anywhere, because when we get back after the break, we're going to look at this a whole lot more. Stay with us. We'll be back shortly.
Did you know that nutrition is one of the keys to maintaining the energy you need to drive your business forward? Vegetology creates incredible, unique supplements in an eco-friendly, ethical, and sustainable way that feed your body with the precise nutrients it needs. We're not just making you healthier, we're helping to protect our planet too. Our products are vegan friendly and approved by the Vegan and Vegetarian Society. Plus, they're gluten-free, so they fit perfectly into any lifestyle. They also contain no artificial colours or flavours, making them good for your taste buds too. You can feel good about your food choices with our healthy, natural supplements. We have something for everyone, whether you want to boost your immune system or just get more energy every day. And we're always working on new ingredients so that we can provide even better products in the future. So what are you waiting for? Get started now by heading over to vegetology.com.
Hey there, are you a business owner? Here at Aurion Digital, we know firsthand that running an e-commerce business can be really hard work. As the online space gets more competitive, it is becoming even more challenging to stay ahead of the curve. We totally get it. So we want to help you succeed by offering a wide range of services, from fulfillment, marketing, customer service, and even coaching and consulting, just so that you can do what matters most. Save yourself the time and the money and let us handle the day-to-day tasks. This way, you can run your business without having to worry about the boring stuff. So what do you say? Are we a good fit for each other? Come check us out at auriondigital.com and let us know what you think.
So I'm back with Valentin. We are talking about customer lifetime value and how to maximize it. We understood before the sponsors, the amazing sponsors, do check them out, by the way, why lifetime value is important. So we've got our ideas, Valentin. How do we start to go about maximizing then our lifetime value? What are some of the things that we can do? And I remember in our pre-call, you talked about the 3 pillars of customer value optimization. What are those, and how is it going to help us?
Yes, the transition that we are seeing right now is from acquisition marketing to lifecycle marketing. So we need to take into account the whole lifespan of the customer. So in order to retain more customers, you need to acquire the right customers. And that means the first pillar of customer value optimization is acquisition. So are you acquiring the right customers with the right products or not? Then the second pillar is conversion. Yeah. Are you converting your traffic into customers? And then the third pillar is customer retention. There were all sorts of debate, which I think were simply useless, about is acquisition more important than retention? Is conversion more? It doesn't matter. So is the whole. In order to have a working customer journey, you need to focus on all of those 3 aspects. If you keep on pouring traffic into a website which is not converting, then you're not doing the right thing. If you keep acquiring customers that never come back, you're wrong. Unless you are selling, I don't know, wedding rings and the divorce rate is almost 0.
Yeah, or mattresses.
Or mattresses, yeah. However, even if you're selling mattresses, you can upsell. We have a customer from the UK actually, which is selling blankets and all sorts of things like pillows. So you can still increase the CLV, but the most significant part is in the first purchase, indeed. So these are the 3 pillars of customer value optimization. In order to improve customer lifetime value, you have to know who's your customer. And that is one of the most ignored disciplines in marketing, because almost all of the companies that I've worked with have been focusing most of their resources in acquisition and in campaigns, in tweaking out the messaging without doing customer research. So the customer research is the first and foremost important, because if you have the customer research, then you will affect all of those 3 phases, right? You will affect acquisition because you will know why the customers are buying. If you do, for instance, research, you can find out how the customers are articulating the why behind their purchase intent, why they've bought, how they are saying it, not how we are saying it as marketeers, because that's another problem. We keep on throwing features and discounts at people without knowing if they actually need a screwdriver, or if they are why they need the product that we're selling. So the why behind the purchase is crucial, because that's the job to be done. So we've made the whole CVO methodology, which starts with the customer research, because that means you understand what you are buying. Peter Drucker used to say beautifully that most companies don't even know what they are selling. And it's fantastic, but it's true. I mean, we are not selling objects; we are selling solutions to problems that if we don't know the real problem that we are solving for our customers, we can't differentiate. And that's why ads should be, and the creatives should be, let's say, in correlated with the needs and the emotions that the customers have. That's why the best ads out there are triggering some emotions and some frustrations, some struggling moments. When you say, yes, that's what I need, and you insert your card details because you remember that frustration that you had when you couldn't reach out for your wife because your battery is down again and you're cursing Apple for that. So that's the struggling moment. That's the trigger. That's why you are buying, right? So we start, and the first thing is to start with the customer research to understand why they are buying and who are your best customers. And for that, a thing that I've been drying my mouth to promote is called RFM segmentation, which in retail, the biggest retailers in the world are using it. It's a way to understand who are your best customers. Who are the customers?
What's RFM segmentation?
Yeah, RFM stands for recency, frequency, and monetary value. Instead of looking at all the customers like they are the same, you group them based on how recently they've bought, how frequently they've bought, and what's their customer lifetime value. So it's not only the ones that have bought the most that are important, but the ones that have bought the most, have bought in the last purchase cycle. Let's say you're selling cosmetics, and the purchase cycle is every 3 weeks. So the ones that bought 10 times from your store, they bought a lot, and they've been active in the last 3 weeks, those are your super consumers. We call them the soulmates, right? The customers that are in love with your brand. Yeah. So by knowing who the soulmates are, you can do research on their buying behavior. You can understand who they are, why they've bought, how they are articulating the reasons why they are buying, and then you can transform your whole positioning. So let me give you an example, Matt, from a company in the US. They've been selling, they are selling weighted blankets, and they thought that it's called Hush blankets. They thought that they are selling the cuddling feeling. All their ads were around the cuddling feeling, the cuddling effect, feeling warm and cozy, staying in front of the TV with a weighted blanket. So that's what was their positioning. I've been doing it 2 years ago. I've been running these jobs to be done interviews on their best customers, the ones that bought not only once, but actually twice or even 3 times. We realized that the ones that they were buying weighted blankets were actually having a medical condition. So they were sleep deprived. They had insomnia. They had to either get sleeping pills or find another solution. They weren't open to buy sleeping pills because they were knocked out, and they had to take care about their relatives. Maybe they had kids, or they had an elderly person that they need to take care about. So that's why they were buying the weighted blanket. After we were looking at the revenue distribution from everything that they've bought, we realized that 62% of everything that they've bought was around this job to be done. Like, help me get a normal life. Help me get some sleep. Don't give me the cuddling effect because I'm having serious problems, right? And thanks to that realization, they managed to understand that they also had the job to be done, which was around cuddling effect, but that was not that important because those people which were sleep deprived also became ambassadors, and they've been so happy about that they started to give it as a gift to the dear ones, to to their kids or to their parents or whatever. So they were brand ambassadors and they were the soulmates. So that ended up with another positioning for the company and with another life cycle email marketing campaign, because they knew that if you are happy about it, then you will promote it to a friend. And they've started to incentivize them into doing exactly that. So basically, that's how it works. That's why you need RFM segmentation, and that's why you need customer research, because you can transform your whole company if you apply it correctly.
Wow, that's incredible. That's a great story. I'll remember the cuddles factor. That'll stick with me. Valentin, this all sounds great, right? And I imagine people sort of listening, they go, I get it. I understand it. I need to, understand why people are buying my actual products and dive into that a little bit more. Maybe that leads to more differentiation. Maybe that leads to different opportunities. I guess the first question that's going to come to everyone's head is how do I do this? Where do I start? How do I, if I'm a solopreneur, maybe, rather than a company with unlimited resources and budget, where's a good place to start with something like this?
Yeah, I would start with learning more about it. So I think that's the one of the main jobs of an entrepreneur is to learn about the business that they are in. And you can't outsource knowledge to someone else. You can't hire someone to be the smart one in your company. You should become smart enough to hire other smart people, but the essentials of your business should be nailed by yourself. So we have this academy. It's called the CVO Academy, where we got a Harvard Business School professor, Bob Moesta, which is teaching about the jobs to be done. We have a Facebook ad campaign expert. Now, I'm refraining from saying guru or whatever. So it's Dennis Yu, which is a fantastic expert in Facebook. Then we have email marketing experts. We have all teamed up so that we teach this type of methodology, customer value optimization methodology. And I suggest to start with the learning. Then it's all a matter of diving into your own data, because the data is there. It's just that few companies are leveraging it. There are all sorts of tools. We are selling a tool which is doing that, but it's not about the tool. Even though I'm a vendor, it's not about the tool, because it's if you don't know how to use it, then you will not extract the value that you have in your database. So it's all starting with the knowledge about the solution that you are looking to establish over there. So there are tools that allows you to do RFM segmentation. Then there are tools that allows you to trigger different campaigns via email, ads, SMS, website. So because it's all a matter of being relevant. It's not about giving the best solution, but it's about giving a relevant solution to the customers. And most companies are just throwing discounts right after the first order. Here's another story for you. There was a company which was selling they were selling vitamins, and they had this email. I'm not going to name it, of course. They were selling vitamins. It was the first purchase. Then right after the first week, they've been triggering a discount. Here's 10%, buy this, or the other. After we've been looking in their data, there's a thing called average days between the transactions, which is the purchase cycle, right? We were looking when are the customers which are actually buying the second time, when they are placing their next order. It was after 42 days on average. So mainly imagine that you're buying vitamins, and it's common sense eventually. You're buying vitamins. You can't see it on your own body if these are having any kind of effect. And you get a call because an email is like a touch point, right? You get a call from the shop. Hey, here's 10% for you, buy again from us. It's crazy, right? Because the consumption precedes buying, right? If you're not consuming a product, and if you're not getting the value out of that product, how come you are trying to sell that product again to that individual? So basically that's what's happening.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And so if I can circle back a little bit, Valentin, one of the things that you talked about in your 3 pillars was acquisition, but you were really careful with the language that you used. I noticed you said acquisition of the right customer, as opposed to just acquisition of any old customer. Why do you differentiate that, and what's the reasoning there? Yeah,
with the RFM segmentation, you can find that you have the ideal customers. So for the context, from our benchmark, from 2,500 stores, which are buying all sorts of stuff, we've realized that one single ICP, one single ideal customer profile, is as valuable as 327 low-value customers, let's say.
Wow.
And why is that happening? Because let's presume you're selling vitamins and you have a customer that bought 25 times from you. You paid the customer acquisition cost at the beginning. You've been paying some remarketing and email, whatever, to nurture that customer. And you have those multiple orders from that customer. And that's your gross margin. Then you have a low-value customer that you acquired in a discount campaign. You've paid for the ads. You haven't even broke even at the first purchase, and they are not buying again from you. And that's what's happening. And with the RFM, we call those the breakups, right? Customers that are not buying again from a store. And those breakups are, let's say, it's toxic to acquire them, let's say that.
Yeah.
And they are buying some sorts of products. They are buying it for different reasons than the ICPs. And with the research, you will identify which are the breakups. And that's how you inform the acquisition based on which are the products that are making our customers stick around and buy again, which are the products that are making the customers happier than the other ones, right? Because you have all sorts of levels of satisfaction. And that's why with the research, you will be able not only to use a different positioning and messaging, but you can push different products from your product assortment.
That's really powerful. So one, you call them ICP, the ideal customer profile, right?
Yeah.
One of those has a value of 300 odd sort of poor value customers. And I mean, obviously that's going to be different for different businesses, and you should figure it out. You should take some time and understand what that is for your business. But that's really incredible when you look, I mean, you've taken that figure from looking at 2,500 stores, you said. So, I mean, if that's an average, I mean, that's an incredible figure. And so this understanding who your good customers are, your ideal customers, and pursuing those rather than just any old customer. This again comes back to your whole thinking on research, doesn't it? And taking the time to do this and do the research is not something I think entrepreneurs are notorious for, because we're an impatient bunch and we just want to get going, right? It's just like, stop ads now, let's get going, let's run at this full steam ahead. And taking the time to look at it is an interesting one. Where would you go, I guess, or what tools are out there to help you start to get some of this insight from the data? I mean, is it a case of just importing all your orders into Excel and just going through them and figuring it out? Or are there some tools out there that can help us?
Yeah, that's a great question. Most of our customers that are coming to us have been trying this on their own with the SQLs and queries and whatever. So one thing that you can do is, if you're really advanced, you can use this kind of queries or Tableau or ClickView or BI tools, which are kind of expensive. Or BigQuery from Google, you can build it. So it's like you can build some models. The problem is that it's going to be a mess to actually take a different messaging to all those customer groups. So from an analysis point of view, you can do it with the data analyst. We have built this technology in the last 9 years. From 2017 onwards, we focused completely on customer value optimization, because we realized that it's a blue ocean, and it's something that companies really need. And now that the acquisition costs are surging, we are seeing a high demand on the technology and the solutions that we are offering. So I would start. You can simply download your database, use Excel, do this type of RFM segmentation. Another alternative, if you're having something like Shopify or Magento or Vitex, for instance, we have these integrations with them. So you can use a tool such as ours. It's a 30 days trial. You have all the data that you can imagine over there, and you'll be in a better position to realize what's going on in your e-commerce without messing out with the data. But that's the first step. Again, I'm telling you that knowing what the problem is not fixing the problem. And it's as good as having an X-ray that says, okay, you have a broken bone. And that's it. That's with the analysis, actually. And it's a difference between knowing about the problem and fixing it. And in order to fix it, you have to get into this type of let's say, journey to start with the customer research, realize what's going on, and then changing the messaging and nurturing the customers down the line. With all the email marketing campaigns should be taking into account the RFM segment, but because that's how you are relevant. Otherwise, you're broadcasting to everyone the same thing and seeing what sticks.
Yeah, that's very, very good. Very important. I'm intrigued to sort of understand where the biggest where the biggest market you've seen this have massive impact. Do you know what I mean? You've given us examples, for example, of the blanket and the vitamin company, but where else have you seen this work sort of super well for e-commerce businesses?
Yeah, it's an important and easy to do thing is to do acquisition based on lookalike audiences that are like your best customers. So we have a thing called the audience builder because changing the behavior is very hard, Matt. So what we've noticed is that many companies are using our software, they realize what's going on, and then they go back to doing some Facebook ads, because that's what they are doing, acquisition marketing. And we have seen good results on building lookalike audiences based on the RFM segments of the best customers, right? And then doing custom audiences on them, because we call them another RFM segment, for instance, it's called the new passions. These are customers that have placed recently a single order, but that order placed them among the best customers in terms of the monetary value. So they are customers with very high potential and very fresh. For them, you can do email marketing campaigns differently. You can do nurturing campaigns via ads differently, because you know that they have a high potential to spend from your store. And looking at what they have been buying and pushing products which are relevant to them allows them to get into the buying habit, because it's all a matter of changing customer behavior. That's all we want to do. Actually, all the marketing is around influencing and changing behavior. So in order to change that, you can use this type of approach, and it's very easy to run campaigns because you already do campaigns. It's just that you now do it with a twist, right? Knowing that you have better customers out there. So you can inform the Facebook algorithm, which is heavily affected about the cookie and iOS 15, by pushing the list of your best customers. So mainly you help the algorithm by saying, okay, these 2,000 customers, we do know for a fact that they look alike. Yeah. And then find others that look like these ones, because you already know them, you have their profiles. And that's how it works. We've been seeing fantastic results, for instance, even for a company which is selling furniture. We were surprised as well, because the purchase cycle when you buy furniture is not that high. But what they have been doing, they've been reactivating the customers which were slipping away, right? The about to dump you customers. And that was really fantastic, because that led to a 40% increase in the conversion rate for those ads compared to the normal remarketing ads.
That's incredible. So I find, again, this fascinating, Valentin. It leads to a whole bunch of more questions, if I'm honest with you. You've talked about different profiles and marketing differently to different profiles. So I've noted so far, we've talked about the ideal customer profile, the ICP. We've talked about the rubbish customer profile, that is breakups. You should just let go. Yeah, the breakups. You talked just then about the first-time customer. So their monetary value is high. Obviously, the recency is high on the RFM model. They've purchased recently and it's high value, but the frequency is low because it's maybe their first time they've purchased. So I've got those different profiles. Are there any other profiles that sort of spring to mind that I should look out for?
Yeah, there's a very important profile, which we call the ex-lovers. Those are customers that used to be soulmates. Now they are gone. So we're using this labeling system, and it kind of works because people can relate to that. So they used to be soulmates, and now for a year they haven't done anything. So usually what marketers are doing with them, they are doing something which is called reactivation campaigns, which I think most of them are crappy because they don't work, because you can't revive the long gone customers. What you can do though, which we've seen it worked with the company from Australia selling fashion goods, they've disguised a reactivation campaign into a research campaign. So instead of pushing, hey, here's a discount, long time no see, they pushed something like, let us understand why. It was something like that. What happened, or why was that happen? What happened between us? It was something along this line. That was the subject for the email, and they've also ran ad campaigns on that. So the results were fantastic from two perspectives. One, that because they had customers which were pissed off, and it was the first time when they actually asked them what happened. And they got a lot of insights to fix their customer journey, like different measures to their clothes or stuff like that they weren't aware of. And another thing was that at the end, they justified giving them a discount code because they've answered to it. And if you think about it, it was like I deserve it now. You know, I've answered to the survey and I earned this discount. It was something like $25 if you bought more than 100. But many of them used it just because they had this bias, and that they've earned their right to use it. And now what can I do with it? I have to use it. So
I like that.
That's how you can work with the ex-lovers. And based on the insights, it's crucial, and we haven't touched the subject, it's crucial to fix customer experience, because now you have so many options to buy the same things from different vendors, different stores, that you can simply do like an alt tab or swipe to change your provider of whatever you're buying. So customer experience is becoming a differentiator, because there are many companies out there which are doing the standard job. You know, they ship products from A to B. But if you add a bit of extra mile in your customer journey, then you can reap off the rewards from this action. And that means simply asking if customers are happy about it. It's not fantastic. It's not about giving them gifts or whatever. These are nice to have, but the hygiene part is, hey, are the shoes fitting you or not? You know, it's something that you close the loop, because many companies are broadcasting, right? They are broadcasting and they are not listening. And by using NPS, for instance, which I'm a really big fan of NPS, you find out if you've done your job as a company. Yeah,
no, I like that. I like the different names you give you, different profiles as well. The ex-lover, the soulmate. I think that's just fantastic. Listen, Valentin, this has been fantastic, and I feel like we could talk much, much longer. But I'm aware of time. How do people reach hold of you? How do people connect with you if they want to do that?
I'm on LinkedIn. I also have a newsletter out there. Today, actually, I'm going to send another newsletter. I'm stubborn, and I'm now at number 26. So for 26 weeks now, half a year, I'm doing this to get in touch with everyone. And also, you can message me on LinkedIn. I'm always happy to help you out. Also, if someone wants to get deep into this kind of things, on the CVO Academy, we have 2 free courses. One is about customer behavior and why the customers are behaving, and it's a really valuable material over there. And another one, it's like a mini course of the CVO methodology, where they can learn what they should do with their e-commerce.
Fantastic. And I assume if there are a couple of free courses, you've got some paid courses if people want to take a real deep dive.
Yeah, we're about to launch a new course with the Chief Strategy Measurement Officer from Google, Neil Hoyne, which just launched his book, Converted, a really, really cool guy. And he's explaining how Google understood customer lifetime value, and a lot of insights and case studies from him. So there are all sorts of paid courses as well, and the whole CVO Academy, which has something like 20 hours of content. It's a really serious endeavor, but the feedback was fantastic out of the students that graduated, and they also get certified into doing CVO. I think in the next few years, the agencies and the professionals from let's say client side will differentiate themselves if they understand the whole business. So we can't be siloed anymore. We need to understand the whole lifespan of the customers.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. And sign me up for that course with the chat from Google. That'll be fascinating. I'd love to get involved in that. Listen, thank you so much for being with us here on the e-commerce podcast. It's been phenomenal to talk to you. No doubt we will have you back on again soon. And thank you again, Valentin, for all you're doing for your neighboring nation in the Ukraine. It's great to hear those stories, and all power to you, man. Bless you. I appreciate you being here.
Perfect. Thanks a lot, Matt, and thanks everyone for listening or watching us today.
My thanks again to my very special guest, Valentin, today. What did you think? What did you think to what he said about customer lifetime value? And is there any way that you can get involved and help with what's going on in the Ukraine? I hope that was helpful. The links that he mentioned, his LinkedIn link, the link to the Google Sheet and all that sort of stuff will be in today's notes. You can get those links, notes and transcripts for free on our website. Just head on over to ecommercepodcast.net/86 and you'll get all of those. Make sure you do. Yeah, next week, we will actually have the conversation with John Horn, the one that we moved back. So, John, thank you for your understanding. But we've got our conversation with John coming up about why you should ditch Facebook ads and use Google ads instead. Now, I appreciate this is a slightly contentious title, and I like that. I like the fact it's slightly polarizing. And if it sounds interesting, and to wet your whistle, here's an excerpt from next week's show.
So I view Google as a lower funnel, higher conversion rate channel. So if we have people who are searching for what the client sells, typically I'm going to start with Google and look to maximum out the number of people searching for that, getting that traffic, optimizing the conversion rate, so forth and so on. And then once I've been able to do that, and also even prove the model and see and do testing of, okay, what messaging is performing best, what are people actually searching for, what are the pain points that they're typing in, then I'll typically expand to a Facebook, Instagram, and so forth to capture additional audience or to get people into my funnel.
Yes, I am looking forward to this one. If you've enjoyed this week's show, if you've enjoyed conversations with Valentin, then I'd appreciate it if you could give us a rating on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts from. And of course, share it out so we can connect with more people around the world, which enables us to get the sponsors, which enables us to keep delivering this content to you. It's kind of, a win-win scenario. And as I said at the start, all of the notes, links and transcript to today's show are online and you can get them for free at ecommercepodcast.net. That's it from me. Thank you so much for listening. Do join us next week and for our conversation with John. Make sure you subscribe and it will come to your inbox automatically. Yes, it will. That's it from me. Thank you so much. Bye for now.
You've been listening to the e-commerce podcast with Matt Edmundson. Join us next time for more interviews, tips, and tools for building your business online.